Welcome back to our Food Forest series. Today, I want to take away all the fear, all the overwhelm, all the complications out of what a food forest design is, and just show you how crazy simple a food forest can really be. The whole point of a food forest is for it to be low maintenance. Here's the secret. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need everything mapped out before you start, and you definitely don't need fancy tools or complicated systems. And I can prove that because I never had a master plan at all. My food forest actually began by accident. I just planted what I loved and then one day looked around and realized I'd started a food forest. Here was this whole ecosystem and there was no blueprint, no plans, not even a sketch. Definitely no contour maps, just simple choices, one at a time. So today I want to show you how you can create a food forest that practically takes care of itself using the simplest methods possible. First step, let nature guide your design. One of the biggest misconceptions about food forests is that you have to design everything and perfectly from the start, otherwise it's not going to work out. But nature already has a design in mind. And if you let her lead, your food forest will become easier to manage and maintain every single year. I definitely didn't put my food forest in the perfect location. I used what I had, and it was an empty spot next to a huge stand of hickory trees, and it's on the side of a hill. Definitely not ideal. If I could have planted in a wide open field, I absolutely would have, but I used what I had, and I ended up with abundance. A big reason why I have such abundance is because I let the plants self-seed where they want to. And that way they find their own ideal spots. So when a flower pops up somewhere unexpected, that's the perfect ground that it wanted in order to grow. It's where the soil, the moisture, the shade, the microclimate is ideally suited for it to be its best. And here's the magic in that. When you let plants self-seed and grow where they choose to, they naturally become healthier and more resistant to pests and diseases. They also become more drought tolerant, and they just become healthier and more abundant overall. So instead of forcing plants into a specific design area that you have in mind, let them move, let them wander a little bit. They'll surprise you. Nature always knows where to place things better than we do. On to the next part, right? One of the easiest ways to seed a food forest, and it plays right into the letting things grow where they want to. And that's just to take a bunch of seeds that you want to grow in your food forest and scatter them literally everywhere. I have a video where I'm literally taking bucket loads of seeds and I'm grabbing them by the handful and I'm just tossing them somewhat violently at the ground, and I don't know, it's a really fun day for me. I literally just wander around the garden tossing seeds hither and yon, and it's so much fun, especially when I toss the lupine seeds and I feel like Miss Rumphius from the book. If you guys haven't read that children's book, it might be one of the reasons why I do what I do these days. So just imagine, there's no digging rows, there's no seed starts that you have to do inside and take them outside. There's none of that. All it is just grabbing the handful of seeds and throwing it. How easy is that? If you do it in the fall, the seeds cold stratify over the winter and then they bloom. They do it all the work for you. And the result, especially if you're throwing seeds like yarrow and echinacea, beautiful pollinator plants, you'll end up with ladybugs and lacewings and parasitic wasps, solitary bees, butterflies, honeybees. They show up and they balance the ecosystem for you. And then they reduce pest pressure without you even having to lift a finger. And all of this is just from scattering a few seeds. Let's talk about fruit tree guilds, right? That's probably one of the things that most people stress out about. How do I create the perfect guild? And how do I make sure that everything's taking care of each other? There's no such thing as a perfect guild. Let me just tell you right now. A guild is literally just a plant team that supports your fruit trees. You only need 5 rows filled. You need 1 fruit tree. Okay, you need 1 nitrogen fixer, 1 pollinator plant, 1 pest repellent, and then a ground cover. You don't even have to have shrubs or subshrubs or herbaceous or vines. You don't have to fill every level of the food forest system in your guild for it to be a perfect guild. Start small. Just add things as you want to. You can have a fruit tree and then just have some pollinator plants around it, and there you go. You've got a guild. But it's even better if you can add a nitrogen fixer. So throw in something yummy like comfrey for building up the soil. Throw in a nitrogen fixer like some peas. It doesn't have to be hard. That's it. You don't need perfect combinations. You don't need to study which plant does best with which other plant. You don't need to follow a recipe, and you don't need to worry about making it wrong. Pick the flowers and the plants that you love and put them around your fruit tree. Chances are you're going to do something really incredible. And in my food forest, I even plant my trees really close together. So this whole spacing of 30 feet away, you don't even need to do that. Have you ever walked into the forest and looked around and seen these trees literally leaning on each other? They're growing so close to each other that they start hugging sometimes even. And here we are with all these strict rules in our food forest. They have to be 15 feet away or 30 feet away, or figure out what the drip line of it is going to be eventually, and make sure you're pruning it properly, and make sure that that's exactly 10 feet away from the drip line of this other. No, you don't need that, okay? I put my plum tree right next to my nectarine tree, right next to my mimosa. I have 2 apple trees growing right next to each other. I have a pear and a peach and an apple tree almost touching their bases together. So it's okay. I honestly think when we look at forests, we can learn from them and see that, hey, maybe trees want to have a friend near them, right? So planting them close together might actually be a supportive thing that, hey, if nature is doing it, maybe we just haven't caught up with the science yet of figuring out why. We do know that trees support each other, and they even communicate with each other through their roots. They make friends. It's incredibly natural. So there's no wrong guild as long as every plant has a job. And again, even if that job is you like it and it makes it pretty. Okay, here's another secret. So often in my this is what you need to do this month for getting ready for your garden, or things to do in November, or whatever kind of videos I make, I talk about mulching. I love mulch. When I first started my food forest, I mulched everything. That was 6 years ago, almost 7 now. I haven't mulched since that first year. So we started with a really heavy mulch, and I did mulch my pathways this year, but what I do is I just let the trees and the shrubs and the plants mulch themselves. The leaves fall and they mulch the ground, just like in the forest. That's what they do in the forest, and that's what we're trying to mimic. So why are we making it complicated, right? When the leaves fall in autumn, don't rake them away. Just let them be. It's literally nature's natural fertilizer. Now, if there was a tree that had like a huge pest problem, or there was a lot of disease going on, and I would say, yeah, gather those up and let's dispose of those. But in a natural ecosystem of a food forest, even if it didn't do super well that year, just let the leaves fall. And only reserve raking up those leaves and disposing them if there's a problem. And if your trees are super young, just grab some leaves from the trees in your yard that you rake up during the fall and throw them underneath all the plants that you've got in your food forest. And that will get the system started. Leaves are excellent, excellent mulch. Leaves literally hold in the moisture, protect the soil. They create a food for worms, for beetles and bugs. They build humus, they feed the microbiology, and they build the soil, and they naturally reduce weeds. If you let the leaves be, every year your food forest will become healthier and stronger. Your soil will become richer, darker, and softer, and more alive just by letting the leaves fall where they will. I'd say this is the foundation of low maintenance gardening. Okay, on to the next section. Natural pest control. Something that is so easy for you to do. You don't ever need to use sprays. You don't ever need to use any kind of really invasive techniques. All you need to do is plant some flowers. How about this? Diversity brings predators, and predators keeps the pests in check. You don't want to erase all of your pests, because then you'll lose all your predators. Just like getting rid of all the bunnies in your field is going to drive away all your foxes, right? So create diversity in your garden and have some pests. That's okay. Some are okay. Some are good. You just don't want them to overwhelm, right? So create diversity so that you can have the predators, and then the pests will be taken care of. And once your system matures, if you have that diversity of just tossing all those seeds around and making sure you just have a bunch of different kinds of seeds that you're throwing, things that feed different pollinators and predators, and things like, again, the yarrow and the echinacea or dara or I don't know, whatever. Pollinators love almost all the plants because almost all the plants flower, right? So as long as your system is growing, as it ages, it'll become more mature. Your predators will become more and more steady and constant habitants of your garden and food forest. And your pests, that problem won't even show itself anymore. And we don't just want the beneficial bugs. Don't forget, you want to create a habitat for birds too. So throw in a water bath, right? That's all you need to do for that. Have something low lying on the ground, like a dish with some rocks in it, and then just make sure there's some water in it. And you'll have frogs, and then you'll have snakes, and you'll have all sorts of good animals and predators in your garden, because it's not just the wasps that we're looking for. It's also the birds and the toads and the snakes and the frogs and things like that. More flowers is good. More water sources, good. More habitats, good. And if you want to make more habitats, you got to leave some corners messy, which again is just kind of letting things do what they're going to do. So let the leaves fall, habitat. Let the sticks and brush pile up in some areas, habitat. Let the flowers grow wild in a corner and you just don't ever mess with them. And now you have a habitat. Simple and abundant and beautiful. On to water systems, right? And sometimes people, this is the thing that they freak out. Some people it's the guilds, some people it's the water systems. It's okay. You don't need fancy water systems. You don't need fancy irrigation. You don't need swales curved on contour with your land and making sure that it's completely level and then drops here and ponds here. You don't need all of that, okay? Let's just take a breath. It's okay. If you want to build them, great, but you don't have to. Let's keep this simple. My primary water system is a duck pond at the top of my hill, and I literally just have a little spigot in it, and I open up the spigot and let it drain out sometimes. Or I can connect a hose to the spigot, and then I just can direct the water where I want it to go better with the hose. It's gravity fed. It's super easy and simple. But that's because I'm on a hill and I had to have a place for my ducks, and I used up this part of the yard. So I had to go up there and use that part of the yard. And then I thought, well, hey, this works. Let me just try this. And boom, I got a good water system. But I didn't start with that, okay? You don't have to have that in order to have a thriving food forest. A small bird bath, even one on the ground, a rain barrel that's connected to your house, or even like your chicken coop. If I had a rain barrel connected to that with some gutters, I would have water all the time. Or even just deep mulch. And that's at the beginning of the food forest, right? So you just put in your trees, throw down a good 4 inches of mulch. That's great. But you don't have to do that forever. Remember, our leaves are mulching, right? So as long as you're letting the ground cover itself, you're going to have mulch and you're not going to have to water as much. So water is really not as necessary as you think it is. And trees are hardy and they're strong. And the trees in the forest, they don't grow because you went out and watered them. They grow because they grow and they get their water from the rain. rain is good. If you have a crazy dry period and you want to go out and water your trees, you can. But again, you don't have to have that. And as the trees mulch the ground themselves, it just gets easier and easier every single year. When I first told people that I was going to be planting some fruit trees, not even a food forest, just some fruit trees. This is before the accidental food forest happened, right? I said, hey, look, I got them from Walmart, right? They were on sale on clearance. Some lady was buying some. I looked at them and thought, oh, people actually buy these and plant them. And then I guess they end up with fruit in their yard. Like, I don't know why it was such a mind-blowing thing to me, but I had never grown up around fruit trees. I had never seen anything like that. And so it never really occurred to me. But as soon as I told people I was going to be planting fruit trees, they all started getting worried for me. They were like, oh, fruit trees are a lot of trouble. You got to spray them. You got to prune them. You got to make sure you're planting in the right place. You got to make sure they have pollinators. You got to have this. You got to have that. They were getting stressed out for my plants. So this is really the part that most people are going to overcomplicate. But fruit trees are really just trees. They're really just trees, and trees are hardy, and trees want to grow. They're super adaptable. They're not fragile. They want to live. My recommendation for fruit trees, right, is I do come out and spray them sometimes, and I only spray them with a dormant oil that's organic in the winter when I'm sure there's no pollinators out or anything like that. And I don't even do that every year. I think I've done it twice in the last 6 years, and that's just because I was feeling super on top of things, right? Got nothing else to do. I wonder what that's like. Definitely not my life right now. But the main things I would say is keep them low. So if you're going to have your fruit trees, cut the tops off of them. Make sure that they stay low so that if you want to go out and grab a peach, you're not looking up into the top of the canopy thinking, man, I wish I could grab that. It's actually right here where you can grab it. It's low. I saw a video one time of people who were growing fruit trees, and they pruned them radically. They were knee level, guys, knee level, and they pruned them so that they would spread out far, right? And they were producing beautifully. They don't have to grow super tall. They can be short trees, even if they're not dwarfs. You can prune them so that they're small and you can get to the fruit easily. So I would say that. And it's easy to do. Once you grow the tree from the first time that you put it in, it's probably going to be small already. Just lop off the top. And then just every time you go out to prune in the winter, when you got nothing else to do, just make sure that you're keeping it low. And this makes sure that the canopy is open enough for sunlight so that you can grow all those flowers and all the blueberry bushes and the other things that are going to want light. I know that there's a food forest guru out there. And I mean, he's really doing a great job, but he just doesn't believe that food forests are well suited for temperate climates, because in the tropics, they need more sun. And here, or in the tropics, they need less sun. And so the shade of the canopy helps. And here in the temperate regions, we need more sun in order to get higher production. But that's not really an issue if you keep your trees short. And then when you're pruning, all you got to remember is prune the dead or diseased branches and anything that's pointed inward. That's it. Okay? You don't have to go, it's not a science. It's not this crazy, if one is going this way, then the angle of the other one has to go directly this direction, and then make sure that the seventh one is not, no dead or diseased, and then make sure that they're not touching each other. You don't want any crossing branches. And then if there's something pointed to the inside of the tree, just cut that off, okay? So I guess 3 things: dead or diseased, crossing where they're touching, they're going to rub against each other, and then anything pointed inward. That's it. So easy. Don't overcomplicate it. And to prove my point, if you think that you can prune a fruit tree wrong, let me show you something right now. This apple tree has been here for probably over 100 years. It's been growing in the middle of an autumn olive thicket for quite a long time, and the trunk is split almost completely in half. It's hanging on by a single strip of living wood. No one has pruned it in 60 years. No one has sprayed it. No one has tried to rescue it, and it's still producing apples. That's where I got all my apples for my apple cider vinegar this year, is off this tree right here that's basically, by all standards, should be dead. But no, it has a plethora of apples every year. Remember, fruit trees are stronger than what we think they are. They want to grow. Okay, so I've written down a few things that I've seen in the comments of people, asking questions and worries that they have and stressors that they have. So here, let me read them off. Okay, so do you need a perfect location? No, absolutely not. Mine is on a hillside and it's in partial shade and it still grows abundantly and beautifully. Do you need a master plan? How do you make a master plan? Who do I need to talk to get this master plan? You don't need a master plan. I didn't have one, and I have one of the most beautiful food forests I've seen. Do you need to test your soil? No, I've never tested my soil, and it's fine. When you plant your food forest, as the leaves fall, as the things grow, as they mature, the soil will actually become better suited for your food forest as it matures. So what spacing rules do I need to think about between my fruit trees? What's the best spacing rule for my fruit trees? Nature doesn't follow spacing charts, and you don't have to either. Do what feels best for you. Is my food forest too compactly planted? Is there too much competition? Are things not going to thrive because they're too close together? Competition is natural and it's healthy. And that's actually one of the reasons why we plant guilds. We want some natural competition. It's good. It's very good. What about pruning? Simple. Just gentle, and that's enough. Gentle pruning. That's all you need. Make sure it's short enough you can reach everything. Make sure that there's nothing dead. No crossing branches. Nothing pointed inward. I haven't gotten X, Y, or Z to fruit yet. Am I doing it wrong? I understand this one. I get stressed about this one too, even though I know in my heart and soul of souls, and I've seen it happen over and over. No. As long as your food forest is growing and maturing, you're doing it right. Your soil is getting better. The plants are getting stronger. You will see fruit eventually. And you do want to make sure that you have enough fruit trees to pollinate each other. But if you have a crab apple, that's going to pollinate all of your apple trees. Just get 2 different kinds of peaches, and there you go. And 2 different kinds of plums, and there you go. And it should be fine. Don't overthink it. If you need a list, anywhere you buy fruit trees, it's going to say, hey, if you want this fruit tree, don't forget its pollinator, it's this one. And then there's also a ton of self-pollinating ones too. And if you just don't want to even worry about that, just get the self-pollinating ones. So no, if your food forest is growing, if it's maturing, you are not doing it wrong. So here's the part that surprises people the most. Every single year, your food forest is going to become stronger, healthier, more cohesive, more balanced, and more abundant. Plants are going to reseed where they're happiest, and especially where my daughter throws all the seeds. Can you not throw seeds in the path? Please. Plants are going to reseed where they're happiest. Root systems knit together. Microclimates develop. Predators move in and stay. The soil gets richer. Moisture retention improves. Diseases diminish as pests become more balanced because of the predators. Diseases become less prevalent as plants find the niches that suits them best. Self-seeded plants are naturally going to be stronger because they chose the environment that they're growing in, not you. And as everything begins to settle into place, maintenance from you becomes easier and less required. It's going to become so much more balanced and so much more low effort. That's why I love a food forest, because every year your workload goes down and the production goes up. Tell me anything in the world where that works that way. So if you're scared to start and you're overwhelmed by the charts and the diagrams and the lists, let this be your encouragement. A food forest doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to begin. Nature will take it from there. Start with one tree, add some companions, scatter some seeds, let the leaves fall, and watch the system grow stronger every day. You don't need a degree, you don't need a master plan, and you definitely don't need perfection. You just need to plant and trust that nature will take care of the rest. If you're interested in food forests and you're feeling reassured, check out my other videos. I've got a ton of stuff on the food forest. I've got a whole playlist filled with food forest information, tours, all sorts of good stuff. And be encouraged because you can do this, I promise. You found a strawberry?
Yes. Holiday.
Oh my goodness, it's so exciting. Stay blessed, friends, and have a wonderful day.